You're about to meet the youthful leader of a new generation of hate. And he says his views are only natural. His extreme message of racial separatism may shock you, but as he travels the country, he seems to be gaining traction. ABC's Byron Pitts dared to face off with the young radical.
At first glance, 22-year-old Matt Heimbach is a country music-loving,
Hail Mary, full of grace,
church-going,
successful day.
have a beer with his buddy's kid who just graduated college, who looks like a friendly enough neighbor.
Well, my name is Matt Heimbach. How you doing, sir? Good.
But beware,
I live up the block. Oh, fantastic.
beneath the big smile and folksy charm is a young man who's been called the future of organized hate in America, and he is on a mission.
Racist, fascist, anti-gay!
You say people of color, Jews, are predators.
Disproportionately. Jews have a monopoly on suffering, it seems.
Anti-Semites, go away!
They deserve a short drop with a tight rope around their neck.
Go to
Could we ask all the third world immigrants to go home?
Racist bigots, go away! Racist, get it!
Do you consider yourself a racist?
Sure. So what? I call it natural.
Being a racist is natural.
Loving one's people is natural.
Yes, Matt loves his people, and he loves his country too. You see, for him, this land is his land.
I would say that my ancestors' sacrifices for this soil have made it mine to a certain extent.
But every American can make that claim. There are blacks, Hispanics, Muslims who shed blood for this nation. So that's not unique to white people.
I would say this nation's founding.
No, that's not debatable, the point I just made. That is fact.
The fact is, Matt says publicly what many may think privately.
Gay marriage shouldn't happen.
He's tapping into a growing and frightening discontent in America.
Get down, the rope is coming! White power!
In the last decade, the number of hate groups has nearly doubled, from 602 to 1,007, according to the Southern Poverty Law Center. Matt was raised in a middle-class Maryland suburb. His parents are school teachers. Matt readily admits they did not raise him to be a racist.
People always say, well, he was raised like that. Well, no, I wasn't. I was raised very, very moderate.
Has it caused tension in the family?
It's caused a lot of tension.
Today, he's estranged from his parents and his siblings.
People harassed by parents, they've gotten death threats and things like that when they haven't done anything.
In fact, his friend Deanna was the only person from his childhood willing to speak to us on camera.
Matt was always a loner.
She remembers a smart but socially awkward boy trying to find his way and gradually becoming fascinated with race.
We're all writing about like cats and dogs and ponies, and he's over there writing about like the Holocaust.
He loved history and the Bible, and his reading of both found his place in the world, a place of superiority. In high school, he took part in Civil War battle reenactments as a Confederate soldier. It's the dark days of slavery he calls the good old days.
So, in your view of the Civil War, the wrong side won?
We'd be a lot better off if the South would have won.
Better off.
Better off because today white separatists like Matt have noted U.S. Census trends showing whites will be a minority by 2043.
I see the cataclysmic end to this empire is fast approaching.
We're racist. White power!
Matt fears white heterosexual Christians have fallen prey, as he puts it, just like Native Americans did centuries ago.
Does what happened to Native Americans horrible? Yeah. But that's what's happening to whites now in this country. So if we can say...
come on. It's someplace in the United States they are slaughtering white Americans by the hundred.
Genocide doesn't have to be with guns and tanks and bombs.
If what Matt Heimbach's peddling sounds familiar to you, it is.
Of a reverse discrimination against white people.
Remember David Duke, the former Grand Wizard of the KKK, state representative from Louisiana. Duke and Matt met at last year's Stormfront Convention. Think of it as an annual retreat for white supremacists, where Matt was a speaker.
So our generation is primed for this revolution.
He's also been a guest on Duke's internet radio show.
This new generation that's coming up is seeing all the sacrifices that men like you and countless others made, and we're just trying to carry the torch.
Do you see a young David Duke and Matt Heimbach?
If you combine honesty, sincerity with intelligence, I think he has the potential to be quite an effective leader for these ideas.
For those who would dismiss Matt, who would dismiss you as men stuck in the past, you say what?
I say with the future.
Trad Youth Network's here to stay.
And how does Matt see the future?
It's just to separate, where there's no ill will, there's no hostility, we can still trade, you can get a visa.
A visa to visit in Matt's world, white Christians in the South, Jews in New York, blacks in Detroit. You get the picture.
I would say that your neighborhood would need a man of your stature.
But I like white people, man. I'm cool with living next to white people.
But for those who'd rather not live with other cultures, Matt's launching a nationwide college recruitment campaign. Forget the crosses and the hoods.
The cross is an inspiration.
He's on a cross-country road trip to form, get this, white student unions. It started at his alma mater, Towson University, then on to Indiana University in Bloomington. Coming up this spring, George Mason in Virginia, Indiana State in Terre Haute, and American University in D.C.
Every other group is allowed to love their race, advocate for the best interests of their race. There's no reason why whites shouldn't.
And what was the best interest of the white student union, you think?
We did a series of safety patrols because what we saw...
Because?
Well, because of the amount of crime we saw, especially black-on-white crime.
But as I understand, according to the local police, Towson was the safest campus in the Maryland University system.
It was.
But facts don't dissuade Matt from continuing to spread his message. Here at Indiana University, Matt and his pal, Ku Klux Klansman and college student Thomas Buells, are gearing up for some campus recruiting. Nearly 15 years ago, at this very same school, a white supremacist, Benjamin Nathaniel Smith, went on a 2-day shooting spree, eventually killing himself.
And I'll be damned if I can't come on campus and speak out in defense of what I believe in.
Do you not like black people?
That's a ridiculous question. I can be a member of the Klan and not hate anybody.
But that's hard to reconcile with those posters that appear to call for the lynching of blacks and Jews. So armed with their posters and their faith,
Nomine Patriot, Filius Spiritus Sancti.
Matt and his posse are ready to meet the public outside a campus bookstore, hoping for recruits they find resistance.
Racist, fascist, anti-gay, KKK, get our own way. You don't want to have a reasonable discussion. You want to come and you want to piss people off.
Tired of screaming, the students use gaffer tape and water hoses to send Matt and his friends on their way.
When you become the most hated man on campus, that does put a strain on relationships, both romantic and family.
You say that with a smile, the most hated man on campus.
Well, it's one of those weird things where people hate me because I'm kind of like a boogeyman.
How do you live with yourself? How the f*** do you sleep at night?
I go to church!
Part of Matt's success so far is his style. Almost always smiling, always pleasant. He mostly avoids offensive language like the N-word. And we noticed something. Matt spends most of his time with people of like minds. So we wondered what would happen if we brought him to the multicultural Mecca, a place he's never been, New York City, or as he calls it, the belly of the beast.
Everything I want to stop is in New York.
In Harlem.
There's white people out here and they living amongst us and there's no problem.
Curiosity quickly turned into confrontation.
Separatism is racism.
Probably most of your friends are young men who are like yourself.
I just want to be around good people. It don't matter what color you are.
Do we have a right to try it?
All right, so no. Why would you want your people to fail? Oh, for diversity? That's how you learn from each other. That's how you get stronger. That's how you build up.
But good friends Aaron and Elijah, we learn later, make the biggest impression.
No offense, but are you racist?
I love my people. I want to be around people who are like myself.
Why do you want us to be separate?
Because I believe that's the way that society is most productive.
Are you doing this because you believe that black people are dangerous?
I don't think you guys are dangerous.
One of the things that just made me sad is talking to those two young boys.
And that made you sad?
If something were to break out in terms of a race-based conflict, there are so many that are within the pro-white movement who would say that those young boys basically would be targets.
They should be killed.
Yeah.
Killed by those more radical than Matt because of the color of their skin. See, when you dig a little deeper, you learn that separation of the races will not be sufficient. Matt believes only an all-out race war and extermination campaign will solve society's problems.
Don't you see how your path eventually leads to violence?
God willing, it won't, but some things are worth fighting for.
The story of a man on a mission to divide America. But Matt Heimbach finds common ground wherever he can. And now he's uniting with some very unlikely allies. Here again is ABC's Byron Pitts.
Matt Heimbach has been called the future of organized hate in America. And now he's on a road trip looking for allies in the strangest of places. He's called white people the devil. But guess who's coming on today's show?
How's it going?
All right.
Matt Heimbach.
Whites in this country have not had our own country. It's been a multiracial society from the beginning.
Matt's here because he believes he's found an ally, someone who also believes the races must separate.
And I think it's really important to be able to reach out to black nationalists. You can't work together if you don't sit down and have these discussions.
They are in many ways two sides of the same coin. Matt's view on race shaped in part by his reading of history, Dawa by his experience as a Gulf War veteran.
When I was sitting there in Iraq, the Arabs would be saying, hey, you black soldier, sit in the corner. Why are you here fighting the white man's war?
Dawa seemed frustrated that as an African-American man, I don't see the world as he sees it.
It seems to me that you're angry and Matt's angry.
I see countless atrocities that have happened to our people, and I'm not going to be happy about that. Why aren't you angry? Aren't you black?
Yes, sir.
Really? Seriously, though, this man here seems to be more in line with what I'm saying than you are. That's the thing that trips me out.
Why are we adversaries? We're not adversaries.
Oh, we're not. But why are you acting as if we are?
I'm not acting like
please.
Matt came away from this encounter hopeful about future collaboration.
Do I think that we're going to be best friends tomorrow? No. But I think there's a lot of overlap into what we believe.
So his Outreach Roadshow continues, heading from Chicago to this African-Caribbean restaurant in Indianapolis.
Okay.
And lunch with Reverend Moja Ajabu, a former Black Panther militia and black nationalist.
Dear Heavenly Father, bless us.
Now an ordained minister who's running for a seat in the U.S. Congress and warns that a race war is coming.
You're talking about killing kids.
We are a nation of laws. Yes.
Are we?
For Reverend Ajabu, his worldview was crystallized when his son was convicted of murder, a crime Ajabu still insists his son did not commit.
That goes on every day. Go into a courtroom. If they're white, it seems like that there is respect. But if the defendant is black, is sit down, shut up, you ain't got nothing to say. It's a whole different world.
Not the guy you'd expect to hit it off with Matt Heimbach. But yet over lunch of catfish and plantains, they agree on some of their least favorite things.
I'm not even for interracial marriage.
We can agree on that.
I know we do. Give me that black woman. Amen.
You can have them.
And the two find common cause and a common enemy, corporate America.
Why don't we hang a couple of bankers instead of a couple of random white people?
Well, I think we're finding common ground.
Would you shake my hand on saying we need to get rid of the international elites?
I sure will.
And that's why I can work with, for instance, with a black nationalist. I can't stand working with white people that are traitors. And I see only one place for them.
And that is?
In a ditch.
Now, unfortunately, because you are promoting the stance that you are promoting,
A right to survive.
we have to take part.
That's okay.
No, stop you from killing us. Why are you looking like that?
For those who would listen to you two gentlemen say, look, you're both crazy. You're both just paranoid.
I would say that you better wake up.
Yeah.
You know, you better understand what's going on. Let me do it like this. Byron, wake up. Amen.